two.
Hey everyone, welcome to Disrupt the Chaos. We have two dope guests tonight and so much like news happening in the last hour. So thank you everybody for joining us. We stream live on Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays at 7 p.m. to a little bit after 8 p.m. And thank you for continuing to support the show. And I hope that everybody out there is doing well. We're gonna get to our guests pretty fast, but I just wanted, there's so much breaking news. Okay. First, sorry. My name's Rosa Clemente. I'm the co-host, executive producer of the show, and Tondi is our producer and holds it down when things go technically wrong. Because they might, Tondi, a tree fell on our house. I don't want to get into it right now, but literally a tree fell on our house the last 2 days. So it's been a little crazy, but we are all doing well, and that's the dope part of what's happening, or I shouldn't say dope, but that we are well when we see what's happening in Florida and so many other states. At this moment, there are over 3,350,000 cases in the United States. There are already 135,000 deaths, and it's peak summer and people are out and people aren't wearing masks, which is infuriating. And honestly, I don't really go out that much because I'm that type of person that's going to get in a fight when I go food shopping because I just find it so selfish. And I really need like my generation to stop with the conspiracy theories. I don't care where the shit started. It's here now. We have children. We're people with disabilities, elders. Like, maybe it did start in a lab. Maybe it was a genocidal war. Well, if it was, then do what you need to do not to die. Like, if it was something made up in a lab, then why would you even think the government would help us survive? So I'm like getting so tired of my generation's old ass conspiracy theories because we know what's happening. And right now in Los Angeles County, they went from having 180 cases a day to 7,000. And the largest population being affected are Latinos, and at the same time, you have Ron DeSantis, the governor of Florida, another moron, who is blaming migrant workers. I'm like, dude, how do you think you eat at night? How does anybody eat right now? Hospitals are about to close in Miami-Dade County. The Haitian community is going to be affected. The more this virus spreads, the more state violence is going to be visited. People are going to start getting dragged out their houses. Like all these movies we've seen from The Purge and everything are here. They might not be the same craziness. Well, maybe they could be like The Purge if there is a 1%, as we do know. It's just a lot. It's a lot to wrap your mind around. And then like we're trying to make sure our children live, and schools are going to be closed in San Diego, Colorado, Detroit, Northern California, New York City, as usual. Bill de Blasio is an idiot and is saying that kids will go to school. Ultimately, New York State will govern one part, but New York City could govern the other part. The sound is lagging. Okay. Well, I'm going to try to slow down. All right. And it is very grainy, and I apologize, but if I don't sit here, then it's going to drop. So we're just going to have to do what we can do. And lastly, I just want to, I know that I have privilege to say this. I am not sending my daughter back to school. And believe me, I know I have privilege when I say that. I know that I can work from home. I know that if I need support, I will have it from the community. But I can't send her back to school. But also she's a teenager and she's pretty self-reliant. I don't have an infant. I don't have a toddler. I would assume, and actually both our guests have a toddler, not an infant now. I think Rod will tell us how old Roque is, but I would say 6. I could be off on this. The whole point is we're all making these decisions, and we need to figure out a way to support each other mutual aid-wise and not be supporting, not be depending not only on the government, but a lot of local organizations are just tapped out, and this is what's happening. Yeah, so of course my daughter's been watching I didn't even really see this movie. She showed me this. Well, somebody will remind me. What was the name of this movie? The Hunger Games. Yes. Okay. So there's a part in the movie where there's like literally may the odds be ever in your favor. And I feel like this is literally what Trump and Betsy DeVos are saying to us. We send our kids to public school. They need us to send them to public school so Black and Latino people could work, so they could have money flowing in, so all the workers in the capitalistic system could go and work while their kids might be infected. So that's what I feel. I feel like they're saying the odds are in whose ever favor, usually rich people who don't have to deal with this. And I mean, I'm also thinking about how stressed out teachers are, how strained they are, how it's becoming pretty abusive within the nonprofit industrial complex and for teachers. Like people were telling me about what's going on with Slack, where like all these people want to continue to have these meetings at midnight. There's no concept of time. Boundaries are not existing because people are afraid that, you know, their boss or someone will just fire them. Like all of this is happening. And we need to kind of take it in. And we have to always remember that this is not an individual problem. This is a complete systemic failure of capitalism, patriarchy, white supremacy here and all over the world. And if we think that Joe Biden is going to save us, then you have not been paying attention. And I want to have this conversation definitely with Rod and Maria about this whole kind of move of electropolitics as being what's going to save us, when really at the end, we're only going to save ourselves. So let's bring our guests on. I wanted to show this dope song that Rebel Diaz has with Tef Poe and T Dub. I should have said it at the beginning, but we'll play it in a little bit. In fact, let's bring both Rod and Maria on because I want to be in conversation with both of them for the rest of the show. And I'll try to slow down. I know I'm talking mad fast. I'm Puerto Rican. What do you expect? Maria, oh, what's up, girl? Oh, I thought Rodstarz was on with her. Unmute your mic. Okay, that's on our end. We'll get the sound. That's weird. All right, we'll get the sound. So thank you everybody for watching us on Instagram. Jazz, I owe you a phone call. I'm gonna call you later on tonight. You can also watch us on YouTube and Facebook and other, Periscope as well, right? And well, let me talk a little bit about this. Do we have sound yet? This is okay. As I said earlier, the coronavirus is really affecting, obviously, Latinos, but particularly in Imperial County, where I was reading that there are patients being airlifted 15 to 17 a day on the average because it's a remote part of California. You know, so this medical worker said if there was a poster of a place where COVID thrives, this is it. Imperial County, a rural stretch of California's far southeast, faces a unique set of challenges, including transitory workforce of farm workers and migrants, right? So there's a lot of going back and forth. Also, there's a lot of people that are undocumented that are afraid to go to the hospital. Like that's a legitimate concern. ICE is using a lot of records to like still detain, put people in detention, deport them. And this is, you know, California. In New York, we have a lot of rural communities past Albany, New York. And these are the communities where people are not adhering to masks because they really feel like wearing a mask takes away whatever they believe their American right to be and walk around is. So, you know, a lot of these rural areas are dealing with that. So we have to always keep in mind, you know, because sometimes we think of urban cold centers as Black and brown, rural centers as white, but, you know, we still can't hear you. So there's something, yeah, I don't know what's happening. You know what? Maria, can you hear me? Yeah, you can hear me. Yeah. Maybe disconnect and we'll try again. Could just be the connection. Yo, Rod, if you're watching, get on. Oh, now we can hear you. Hey, sis.
Can you hear me?
Now we can. Yeah. Hi.
Okay.
Hola.
Hi.
Hi. How are you?
I'm well. I just keep hearing myself back. So it's
It happens.
me escucha
Are you on
the
headphone?
new world.
Are you on
I
headphone?
am not on headphones.
So just come a little close as you can get. Yeah,
Okay, I can put headphones on if need be.
that might
Would you like?
help. Yeah, that might be clearer. So, as we were talking about this stuff, let me just, talk a little bit about my homegirl, really a comrade. I don't know when I met Maria. I just remember when I saw her on stage, and it was in Minneapolis. It might have been at this hip hop
B girl
conference.
B.
What was it?
B girl B.
That's right. See, that's where we met. That's where we met. But I mean, her spirit is dope. She got on the phone with us right after George Floyd was murdered. She got on Instagram with me after George Floyd was killed as Minneapolis was rising up. She comes from a strong family of organizers. She's an organizer as well, a mom, and I love her. I love her to death. She's
I love
so
you.
real, but you have so much love, like for everybody all the time. So, first of all, how are you and the family doing?
We're good. Can you hear me better?
Yes, perfect.
All
Yes,
right, chévere.
yeah, yeah,
We're doing what we're doing. One day at a time. We're grateful to be alive, right?
yeah,
It's such a it's been what, almost 2 months since we last spoke.
yeah, yeah,
And so a lot has obviously happened all over, right? The
yeah,
continued game. Um, yes, America, the world.
yeah. It continues. Wait. Oh yeah, 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 yeah. Oh, that's dope. All right.
You ever check this out?
Yeah, I do want. I didn't. I've never seen it before. Um. So when I called you, it was right after George Floyd that first week. Well, yeah, I want to start with that and then get into your story of your organizing and your artistry and all of that. But it's been 2 months, so not only that, and dealing with the COVID crisis, and you're involved in a lot of organizations. So, what does it look like on the ground now in Minneapolis?
There's a lot of community, let's say that, just everybody between the different sides of Minneapolis and St. Paul that have been community organizing. Our work has never stopped. Our work didn't just start right with the murder of the homeboy Big Floyd, and now it's just utilizing our strong community leaders and elders wisdom, as well as being reboosted by the youth, and recognizing what these torches have been lit, for guidance and survival, to continue on the movement, right, the momentum. But really focusing on us as community organizers from both cities, to listen to the youth, to hear what the youth want. We're in our positions as far as being directors of organizations and advisors to philanthropic avenues right now. But my whole thing has been respecting and remembering the youth that we have been and what has nurtured us. So now we're the nurturers. And there's a lot of nurturing going on, and there's a lot of calling out going on too. There's a lot of remember this, remember that. Right now, I'm not in a frame of remembering, I'm in a frame of circling the youth. I can only speak on myself, and what I see from my comrades over here is really, really paying homage to. We have been surviving genocide. We have been surviving gentrification. We have been surviving this school to prison pipeline. The murder of George Floyd on top of a pandemic has only made ourselves I should say, unify unifying the river's flow to embrace, to listen, and to really recognize the direction and leadership from the youth, and checking game también. There's a lot of games checking, and because you have to, folks need to take accountability, and folks need to also take care of themselves to make sure that they're strong enough to be in those positions.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's important what you said about I'm not in that position right now, like, calling out everybody and all of that. Cause I was thinking all the time. I was thinking about that last week and I was like, I'm done with that. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
for me, the Lin Manuel Miranda petition we're doing and all that is
Mm-hmm.
part of the work. But the other
Mm-hmm.
part was also like, I don't need to be to every Twitter party invited. Like, I just really had to work on myself this weekend and say, like, what are my priorities? And we can always hold people accountable, but I think you could get stuck in that place of constantly critiquing and responding and being reactionary, when now it is that time to nurture young people. And as much as some of us want to be on the streets, like, some of us can't. So it's ultimately like I have to trust that my daughter at 15 is holding it
Mm-hmm.
down with her crew, which they are.
Mm-hmm.
Part of me is like the physical closeness and what we've lost, but the other part is like, nah, it's her time to do what she needs to do. She'll check in on me. I'll decide when it will be time to go out, when that time
Mm.
is required, like it probably is in Minneapolis next year. So I'm glad you really said that, because it's a good reminder for all of us. And you
Definitely.
knew George Floyd as an artist and somebody, as you say, you're Puerto Rican from Minnesota,
Mm-hmm.
and this has been your
Yeah.
dad in Puerto Rico, but you knew George Floyd because he had worked as security at a lot of the clubs that and venues that you performed at, right?
Specifically, I need to highlight that he worked at the Latinx clubs of the Twin Cities, the two longest running, the spaces that our communities are in. From the how Latinos are. There's a Latin club. That club is a nightclub at night with. He worked the largest one and he worked the smallest one. So it's not only a nightclub, it's also a restaurant, it's also where families gather, children during the day, event spaces that are community, that are our Latinx community. So and I point that out because there's been a lot of discussions of what needs to be happening in the Latinx community, into global, but locally, starting for on the racial disparities amongst our communities. And Big Floyd, like, he was an honorary Boricua. You know what I'm saying? He was
Mhm, mhm.
he knew, he recognized his position to protect. And so, like, yeah, he was a nightclub security, but no, he was protecting not just folks coming in the door, but protecting our spaces, and respecting our culture, and educating each other, those conversations. So yeah, I knew Big Floyd. He was our security for our major shows with my band. I opened up for Bad Bunny, and that was the last show that he had, uh that I had worked with him on. I had seen him after that at the conga at the restaurant, but he made sure that we were safe and that we were focusing to do what we have to do, because clubs isn't my favorite thing. I'm at the club if I've got to work, but
Yeah.
the whole nightlife thing, he really knew how to conduct professionalism and establish relationships with everybody that he worked with, establish friendships. And it's just devastating. I got him right here in the lab, in the booth. I just as a reminder, because he protected us, and he also was for the youth and the movement, saying, we ain't perfect, but we trapped by a system that wasn't built for us. But ain't he
Yeah.
didn't let everything that has could have had affect him as a black man, imprisonment, to racism in general, to you know he didn't let that affect his relationship with being a protector in our community. He always really was for the good side, and it's just devastating. It's devastating.
I know. I think, like, everybody who is an artist really has spoken to how they felt. He was not only protective but also wanted to see everybody, like, definitely thrive. I'm glad you brought up the at least one of the clubs, right? Because I've seen her speak. She's a Latina woman, and I can't watch her anymore because every interview I see, she'll say, "Well, I knew Derek Chauvin. Like, we knew he hated black people." And I was like, well, that's the problem right there. Like, why'd you keep employing this dude if you knew he
You
hated
know,
black people?
you want to know, it's the MPD who would send, because you have a contract with clubs here in Minnesota. You
Oh,
have to
okay.
have it's not, I shouldn't say Minnesota because I can't speak on behalf of the whole state, but knowing in the city of Minneapolis, you have to hire an off-duty cop, and they hire them through the department. So it's a
Okay.
little interesting because
Yeah.
I do know the owner of the club, and I do know her support that she has been giving um, to the movement before all this. You know what I'm saying? And it's just a lot, and you gotta recognize too. Right now, there's a gag law in regard to who's gonna testify. But yeah, it's horrible. We dealt with that cop at our shows all the time. He was profoundly known in the community to be very uncomfortable. And unfortunately, I can't speak on behalf of the club or her, but I do know on my end of the story that that's what it is. You don't get
Yeah.
to pick the
So,
cop that you
so
get.
I'm glad you broke that down because that's important to know. That's probably like a police union issue, where all of that comes into play. So you have to. I
Ugh.
mean, New York City, that's always been the thing. I wasn't about having to have more than one off-duty cop, and then they're on some special lists where you can only pick those cops. You can't be like, oh well, I know this cop or whatever. They're not as bad.
Well,
But
it's
that
weird.
people knew him in the community is really like some of y'all must have been like, yo, one day this dude's gonna kill somebody.
Yo,
But you know
definitely.
those cops.
It's a very uncomfortable vibe, and for somebody who I have been performing in that club for 17 years, basically. It felt, if 16 years, since I was a teenager, with our bomba crews and opening up in the hip hop and reggaeton world. That was the only club where you could go see Latin hip hop and reggaeton in 2005. That cop was make himself among that whole block. I mean, this club was right across the street. It burnt down. This club burnt down. It was right across the street from the precinct. So there's a lot of like these, just a lot of different emotions, because how am I gonna be an artist in a club and perform, and I know you know who I am if I see you, and I know remind, I can't forget that guy. So it's like, if you don't, it's a to me it's a personal vendetta. If you remember everybody you seeing in these circles and these stages and these spaces, how you not going to point out a brother who works security at a club that you would walk in and out of whenever you felt like you could.
Yeah, and
So
and let me say, I didn't do any justice to who you are. I'm like, I keep telling everybody it's like just having a conversation with all my comrades and friends and stuff like that. But what I do want to play is this incredible piece I saw on you from PBS. It's about 5 minutes long, everybody, but it really gives you an in-depth look at who Maria Isa is, what she believes in. And while we show the video, we'll get Rodstarz because I just realized he might be on that Chicago time. He might have seen the 7 and be at the 6. So I was like, right. I should have told both of you all that, but you got it.
I
And
got it.
and we're gonna fix some of the sound and stuff. I think we figured it out. So
Okay.
everybody, stay tuned. We're not going nowhere. We're gonna get Rodstarz in, and then of course you can also see this on PBS if you can't hear it, because obviously we're doing it through the computer. But I love this. I love seeing this about you. So check out this PBS kind of mini short doc on Maria Isa.
Thank you.
Yeah.
When I say soda, you say Rico. Soda, soda. Those my people. You guys know this one? Tell me who, where. Is a Puerto Rican who is from Minnesota. Being in the Twin Cities, I know Minneapolis and St. Paul, and it's been the community that's raised me as the Puerto Rican girl. Because I wasn't Mexican, and when teachers thought that it was the same as being Mexican or Ecuadorian or Colombian or the holidays, you know, Maria, bring tacos to school. It would be like, I don't make tacos, but we make these, but you can, you know, ask homegirl over here to make tacos, and we'll all make together, and we'll all join as a feast and a family. So it was really breaking down the stereotype and also acknowledging those stereotypes that have pride within the stereotypes as well. Ay, Dios mío. Ay, Dios mío. Ay. So just I'm Soda Rican. I have a pride of being from Minnesota just as much as anyone who's been here. I'm a Vikings fan. I'm a Twins fan. I got to walk through New York when the Derek Jeter's getting his MVP award and Jay-Z's singing with Alicia Keys, and I have a Jeter jersey on with a Twins hat on. You know, I'm like, I have pride from being from the state. It's raised me. It's taught me to keep my values and not let people take it away from me. Regardless of what party you're from, it's about making change, darling. They trying to stop me from marching, yo. They trying to stop me from marching, yo. Being influenced as a child of a Vietnam veteran and the daughter of a, human rights advocate, my first thing was being a vocalist gave you a freedom of speech, and it gave you an expression to highlight that freedom of speech. So why not sing and pass a message as well? And I feel that's where my strength is. I'm not just a vocalist, I'm not just a rapper, but I have a passion towards what my music is dedicated to. And it's towards helping the community that has been believing in me, the community that serves me, the community that I serve. Get him the fist and I won't stand alone still. Attacking the system, flip them like Umi Kill Bill. He's taking images critical when you get political. Maria, sing a verse and chill.
Maria Isa gets up on stage and exudes this amazing confidence with her audience, and she's so much in contrast to a lot of the things that you see happening in local music, because she is that confident, because she is not afraid of being a woman, and she's the one that's totally in charge. I think Maria Isa has really set herself apart by writing these amazing songs, by combining all these different elements, by showing so much pride in her Puerto Rican heritage and combining it with her love of the Midwest and just making this really unique identity for herself.
I look at being a vocalist and an MC as being a message carrier. So if you want to have the ability to be a message carrier, you need to talk about the things that are influential. You need to also bring up, topics that aren't being discussed, that are positive and that can bring balance to a negative situation. And I feel that it's a privilege to be able to be kind of, yes, an artist, but a politician at the same way. Bomba is the traditional folkloric music of Puerto Rico, influenced by the enslaved Africans in Puerto Rico, the indigenous people, the Tainos, and the European settlers. Bomba is played through the bomba drum. It's a rum barrel, and these were barrels that were dumped off from the ocean and the sea, picked up, and in order to be capable of staying alive in a time where, there was a lot of pain and sorrow, but also capture the good moments, it succeeds through the music, and it's passed down generations to generations. And I like to say that my story, everyone's story starts in a circle, and that's ahead of a drum. So regardless what culture you come from, everyone has their beat. And that influences a lot within the hip hop culture. Hip hop was, formed within a diverse community that were struggling within the system and issues that were happening through government and control.
And what makes you happy is bring the music out. How can me and you sit in this room together and actually not worry about what's going on in our lives? And that influence comes back. It's repetitive through history. My grandparents' upbringing was just as similar to mine with hip hop. Instead of bringing out drums, we were bringing out, turntables and making mixtapes, and it's a universal language through the drum.
I love that. That's what PBS is supposed to be doing, highlighting folks like you, folks like Rod that we're about to bring on. And yeah, let me do a little reset. So first, I want to thank everybody for showing up. Disrupt the chaos. We started at 7, some technical issues, but it all comes together at the end. Thank you for rocking with us on Instagram Live. And then you can catch us on YouTube, Facebook, Periscope, and all of that. We're here with Maria Isa and let's bring Rod on. Rod the thing with Rod is Rod Rebel Diaz. I'm like, you must have been hearing that all your life. You and your brother must always be like, we're also like two human beings. It's kind of like Alicia will tell people, I am not her daughter. She's not Rosa Clemente. Ask me what my name is. Don't say I'm her daughter. That's why y'all gonna go through this too. That's why she banned me for 5 years. I couldn't go to nothing. She just let me back in the fold like 3 months ago. Because here you are, Maria's playing. I love this. So Maria's got the sound effects of the bomba every time I say something dope. Sorry, but you can't do it all the time, Maria.
That's why I love my Puerto Rican comrades, man. Y'all always be having the drum.
Exactly.
Right by y'all at all times.
I got a whole bunch.
No, I know y'all do.
Maria, stay close.
People forget. I grew up Puerto Rican. I grew up in Humboldt Park, Logan Square area.
Rod, we don't forget. You tell us every time, Rod.
It's a thing. It's a thing with me. I was like, I'm from Chile. Ain't nobody from Chile. So in Chicago, you either Mexican, Puerto Rican, or black.
In Minnesota, you're Mexican.
So from
Puerto Rican. So
up to 8th grade, up to 8th grade, I was black.
You mad skin? What are you talking about?
No, I'm saying like my social, my whole crew. You know what I'm saying?
I feel you. Like
that's what I chose. I was like, I'm not Mexican. I didn't relate. You know what I'm saying?
You see, you're Mexican over here and you're native over here. You're
all of that.
Anishinaabe.
Oh yeah. When I got to the Bronx, I was Mexican. I was like, man, cool.
Oh wait,
Puebla, York.
I got a Whoopi Goldberg, y'all, because we're all talking over each other right now. And we're gonna continue. But let Rod finish telling his story, even though I know it like word from word. But continue. Do you finish?
What's my story?
You bad people to like 9th grade when you found out you were Puerto Rican, and then your parents told you were Chilean.
No, I knew I was Chilean all along. And what it is that my parents are revolutionaries from Chile, from the MIR, the Movimiento de Izquierda Revolucionaria. We part of the survivors of the first 9/11, September 11, 1973, when there was a CIA-funded military dictatorship that overthrew the democratically elected government of Salvador Allende in Chile, right? So and I want to put it in a global context of the world. August 11, 1973 is when Kool Herc is having the party in the Bronx. You know what I mean? Exactly a month to the day.
Yeah.
Thousands of miles in the south, there's this dictatorship that overthrows a socialist government. And I make that connection because the lifespan of hip hop has been a lifespan of a neoliberal economic model, which all over the world is being rejected right now in the streets of Chile and in the streets of the US. So our history is tied to that reality of just being refugees and exiles. And so our internationalism has just been, growing up in Chicago. I grew up with Palestinians, fighting against apartheid in South Africa, with Puerto Rican independentistas, with Salvadorians, Nicaraguans, and Guatemalans who had fled civil wars. And so, yeah, you know, amidst all that turmoil, I decided to be Puerto Rican in high school, and I was a Chilean. I was the president of the Puerto Rican Student Association, or a vice president of the Puerto Rican Student Association, on some Chileno, you know what I mean, internationalism. But yeah, so
You trying to erase Puerto Ricans, Rod? What you
I'm
doing?
just, you know, I'm trying to raise independentistas.
Exactly. And let me make it clear to everybody. Obviously, this is not your normal show. I don't want a normal fucking show. This is exactly what we want. These are my comrades. We've been in the streets together. Me and Rod really been in the streets together.
Too many times.
Story I'm going to write in my memoir, but this is the crux of the issue. We were at a conference in DC. Things got heated politically. Like, we're in one of the most expensive hotels in DC, and we're all talking, and something happened with somebody else from another organization that shall be remain unnamed till the book comes out. And all of a sudden, I just see Rod start go from being like mad chill, and he's like, "Yo, dude, you're a clown. You're a clown. Get out of here." It was like 1 a.m. in the morning, and I was like, "That's exactly what I want to say to him an hour ago." Thank you for because but the conversation got crazier, and we were up to like 4 a.m, and then I think the police showed up at one time to who we were with. It was crazy enough that when I hit up Rod up a couple weeks later, I was like, "Yo, I know you'll always have my back." For 10 years, I was the one doing shit like that, and then I was like, "Yes." And all that is because in this work, we got to be comrades, like, and we got to be able to have some fun and laugh and, you know, have some levity as we're doing the work. So, Rod, I just brought you on. You're an organizer, you know, you're now a father. You created the Rebel DIaz Collective in the South Bronx with your brother and, you know, other folks. Well, first of all, where are you now? And how are you doing? How's your family doing health-wise? And what are some of the things you think we need to be like really raising up at this moment where people are also, you know, really scared?
Right now I'm in an undisclosed location, otherwise known as La Trinchera, with my Tio Carl in the back and the Mapuche flag, as you can see.
For those who don't know, that would be Theo Marx, not Theo Bernie Sanders, but
no. And so no, but I'm in the New York area, you know what I'm saying? But more than anything, look, you know, COVID-19 hit my block real hard, you know what I mean? We lost a bunch of the elders, you know what I'm saying, as a result of it. And it's not a joke, you know what I mean? I think that we cleared that this is a pandemic that's going on, and you know, the bigger pandemic is capitalism, you know what I'm saying, as we've seen. In which they're you know, they put in profit over people, which has been their history from the jump, you know what I mean? I think we've seen a rebellion that hit harder than I've seen in a long time, you know, but at the same time, we have to keep that energy in the streets and not let it be co-opted by the Democratic Party, which has been the history. This is nothing new. You know, in 2006, you had the largest pro-immigration rallies, you know what I'm saying? When folks were, you know, fighting against Prop 187 or HR 4437 in California, there was 1 million people. That energy from 2006 became, you know, and if you really want to talk about it, Si Se Puede from the immigration rights movement became Yes We Can, and then Obama gets elected, and then, you know what I mean? And I know you remember because you was the vice presidential candidate for the Green Party that time, you know?
And thank you for having my back during that time and making a song that I was in. I think about that all the time. But yeah, when I was running and you're like, in fact, everybody, when I got the nomination in Chicago, Rod's parents and
everybody was there,
and his brother were there, and I was like,
and
La Tere and Davey D. But when I saw your mom and dad, I was like, this is crazy. And I just remember your dad being like, you just fight, you just keep fighting until you can't fight anymore. But it was like, I brought them on the stage, and they were like, "What? Not your parents, but Gonzalo and
there's footage. I've seen the footage. Yeah,
it's the best part because Chicago. You know, I love myself some Chicago. So you've seen elders. Your brother's a doctor. right? So
Yeah,
you're
my older
getting,
brother.
info that we might.
No, more than anything, what my brother was always stressing was just, yo, like this is not a hoax. You know what I mean? We don't, and people are dying, and I feel like with the fam, I've stuck to that. You know what I'm saying? Like, uh,
Yeah.
but at the same time, it's been hard. It's been hard because you see mobilizations going on, you see young people resisting, and we've been doing this for years. But at the same time, it's a new energy, and I think that one of the things I want to share is just coming from Chile is that it's I think it's really important that we make international connections. You know what I'm saying? Like when I
Mhm.
was in Chile, I came back alarmed because I saw so many people and met so many comrades who had lost an eye. You know what I'm saying? And when
Mhm.
I got back here in the first week of it, we started seeing people left and right all over the country losing their eyes. These are not coincidences. This is not just a bad luck that no, they're aiming for your face. These are Israeli military tactics that are taught. Israeli police trains people all over the US. Israeli police trains cops in Chile. And so we make these connections because when folks are talking about free Palestine, you know what I mean? It's connected to Black Lives Matter. You know what I mean?
Right.
We getting killed and shot at by the same military training. You know, when folks say no human being is illegal, there's babies in cages. They saying Black Lives Matter as well because guess what? You know what I mean? The folks that are building, the border walls and that the tear gas those migrants are getting shot with is the same tear gas company from Ferguson, the same
Mhm.
tear gas company from Palestine. The same company building the wall are the ones building walls around Gaza. And so I
Mhm.
say that because I think that it's important in an era of identity politics to have politics and not be scared. You know what I mean? To have conversations. I think we're in a space where political discussion is more important than ever. And there's a certain, I feel like, rejection of having dialogue and sharing ideas and debating ideas, which I think is healthy towards creating these new ideas that are going to lead us to victory. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Because
I
I'm,
mean, I think what Maria was saying is what you just said about the young people. Like now, um, it's that switch, at least with
Mm-hmm.
your generation, you know, and mine has been having the most trouble with it. And it really started with Ferguson, and I just remember all the work that y'all were doing, hearing about it, getting on that plane, seeing y'all on the streets, and realizing like, oh, I need to really just shut the fuck up and listen right now. This is a whole new level. That my generation, we missed the gap there. Then you and Raj's generation is now like that transitional to the young people. And Maria was talking about that earlier about the young people's energy. So you're both feeling like the young people's energy. I'm sure you're talking to people every day who want your advice and all of that. But as artists, are you feeling very creative right now?
Definitely. It's really the it's really the sound of the soul that's keeping the flavor in the kitchen, that's keeping the blood and the heart pumping, that's creating medicine for not just ourselves as individuals and self-care, but in my household it's what's keeping everything together. I mean, both my husband and I, we're raising a 1-year-old baby girl, and we're both artists, we're rappers, we're actors, we're producers. So the thing to keep us, mommy and papi, is our craft, is our lyricism, is our production, is making sure that our mornings are no longer going to the office and going to teach class, but our mornings consist of, you know canto and drumming and oils and what it is to influence us and even larger. I have a project that came out amongst the pandemic because in reality I moved my whole studio to the crib right now, no, before things shut down, because I'm like, I'm type 1 diabetic. I can't even get a regular flu at the same time battling big pharma and doing lobby work and out of home, right? So the art, and if you recognize, if we look into history, if we look into herstory, you know uh artists evolve even in depth, even in more in depth into their souls when there's a fire burning, when there's a wave happening. It's a part of the rhythm of Mother Nature. You know, Atabex is giving us our rhythm, and the ritmo is cura. You know, not only is it a medicine for Maria and Rod, you know what I'm saying? It's a medicine for our people to be reminded that we've survived a lot of shit, and our whole mission is to survive and be balance, be a balance, and try to limpiar our flush this hate, the hate that our ancestors died because of, you know, the hate that had raped our women, that continues to belittle us. It has to be able to continue to pump creativity. And that's the only thing that's really, my art is my daughter. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
what's keeping us healthy and afloat amongst not only a pandemic, but to me, the police were pandemic before COVID, you know, diabetes is a pandemic, heart disease, racism. So now, through todo se tiene que explotar. Everything has to blow up in order for us to be detox. 2020 is the detox,
Yeah.
and the survival is the
And
art.
Rob, what I mean, how are you feeling, especially, you know, with the Chicago narrative, what always leads is shootings or all this, you know, intra-ethnic violence. It doesn't really speak to the last two mayors being Democrats and complete sellouts, you know, Lori Lightfoot being your current mayor, who continues to side with the police. But what do you think about what's going on now? I mean, I'm sorry, as an artist, I mean, is this not, I know it's making you more creative, but as an artist, does it make you more sensitive to stuff going on? And I'm trying to understand that, because there's this thing now where people are like, if you're not 100% like ready to go and roll, then there's a problem, as opposed to looking at this like, this is a global pandemic. Some of us are empathetic people that take in a lot of people's energies.
Mm-hmm.
You know, have you felt that, Rod, in any way? Or
You know what's crazy? I've been feeling more creative than ever, because
Yeah.
I just be hyper as it is. So the fact that I've been quarantined for months and I'm bouncing off the walls, you feel
Yeah.
me?
Yeah.
And so I'm doing a character. I never even planned things like this. I'm doing Bigote Smalls. You know what I'm saying? I got like a whole character going on.
Yeah.
I'm
Y'all
out here
should
doing
watch it on
throwing
Instagram.
on, I'm
It's
throwing
really
on
good.
wigs and doing acting. Like,
Yeah, very
you
good.
know?
It's hilarious.
And a lot of it's been based on need. Because real talk, like, you know, I'm gonna let the cat out the bag. Rebel Diaz, a lot of times people see me as the face, but the spinal cord and the genius behind Rebel Diaz is G1, the musical producer. I just rap and talk a lot. I never stop talking, you know what I mean? But at the end of the day, I don't record. I'm anti-technology, but I grew up outside, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I wasn't really a studio kid like that. Like, I got a late start in the rapping game just because my brother got into NYU and had a studio access, but I don't know how to record myself. I mean, you know, so I just been rapping into the camera. I've had to reinvent, you know, as artists, we also learning new things and adjusting to the new world. Like, I've done mad rap show through Zoom. It's been beautiful because Rebel Diaz, I think one of the things that I'm proud of as an artist, that because of our international politics, we got, you know, fans in Greece and Australia.
Yeah.
And I've been able to connect with them without having to travel, and seeing that we could, you know, come together like that. So as an artist, that's been dope. As far as, you know, Chicago, I want to be clear that, like, I think one of the conversations I feel is missing around the whole defund police conversation, or even the abolish the police conversation, which I think are legit ideas and legit, you know what I mean, goals. But I think that at the same time, we're playing ourselves if we think that we're going to reverse the contradictions of 500 years of colonization and capitalism in the hood, when the main role model has been a violent capitalist system. And so you're not going to reverse that singing, you know what I mean, singing Kumbaya and saying, you know, defund the police. There needs to be a militant, conscious building, you know what I mean, army of folks that go and build consciousness and have political education in the hood, so that a concept like no police can even exist. And I think that a lot of times, like, and this is what I share, is that I think we have goals, but there's the everyday grunt work that's missing. And I think that we're setting up ourselves for failure and feeding right into the hands of the right wing, talk and conversation. If we think that defunding the police without doing that militant work of building class consciousness and creating solidarity and not having a competitive atmosphere in the hood, which is what it is, you know what I'm saying? And I think that it's very telling that these conversations are going on at a larger scale, because it's very telling of the disconnect that there is between the movement and the hood. You know what I'm saying?
100%. I'm 100% there, because living in Albany, in upstate New York, like, even the rallies that Alicia has gone to sometimes tend to be predominantly white. We're not a predominantly white city. Albany is now mostly African American and Dominicanos, who have really, in the last 2 years, there's a whole strip now of Dominican businesses, which I love to see, because I know how much this city hates Black folks. And until very recently, there weren't a lot of Latino folks here. But as small as Albany is, less than 80,000 people. People think it's huge because all these people work for the state. So they're all coming in from the suburbs or on the train or lobby. But when you go home at night, the police are some of the most brutal police I've ever met. And this has been the worst summer in terms of shootings. We've had 25 shootings in like 7 weeks. Comparatively, for a city of 80,000 and less people, there's only 7 blocks where I can tell you 7 blocks where there's been 4 to 5 and stabbings. And because the conditions in this community, the Black community here, have gotten, specifically African American, we call it Arbor Hill. It's almost like the mayor and the police have put this like invisible barricade where everybody just stays in like a 3-block area where half the buildings are demolished, abandoned, and all of that. And we get a lot of people here that used to come up for rehab treatment. So now we're seeing like a lot of opioid addiction. So anytime I walk out, I'm seeing white people strung out. I'm seeing brothers and sisters fighting. I'm hearing gun and stuff, helicopters, tanks in our street. I'm like, this is Albany. Y'all live in 2 huge cities. And Maria, especially for you, I mean, Minneapolis is still a predominantly white city.
And St. Paul, let's remember,
And St. Paul, the Twin Cities, yes.
I'm in the capital side, and our shootings, our crime rate for the past year, before COVID, before all of this, in St. Paul and Minneapolis have skyrocketed. Let's just talk. We've had, how many police kill Black men in the last 5 years? You know what I'm saying? And men of color, women of color. So there's all of this stirred in. Why do we have a block, 2 blocks away from where Big Floyd was murdered by the police? There's a Powderhorn Park, and there's 1,000 homeless residents in that park right now. There's 10 cities popped up, and each highway sector is a population of homelessness on top of where drug abuse has happened. All of this stirred out. It's the pores. Like I keep saying, it's the detox of all of this colonialism that has been the poison of our people. Is now the shit that they used to think they could expose, or that they could hide the killings and shut us up. You can't no more. As much as we want to go against technology, but technology has played a huge part on that. We could text somebody, we could take a picture, we could film it. They still want to utilize the injustices of the system to butcher our evidence, but you can't no more.
But you know what, Maria, I think too, though, is we have to have a really large discussion. I'm reading this book. It's like, I'll grab it after we show the Multiply video. And it's called The Age of Surveillance Capitalism. Right? So the reality is nothing we're doing is a shock to them.
No.
So the thing is, in the way we responded to Hurricane Maria, or Rod and them and their family have been consistently in the struggle. And you talk about communication, right? We got to figure out a way to communicate that does not
involve this.
And I don't know what that looks like, because I'm on the Rod thing. Like, I'm like Instagram living videos. People like just repost that. I'm like, I have no idea what that means. And I actually don't want to learn, because it's like a lot. So I let Alicia handle it, and people want to do that shit. But it is this high level, and it involves Palantir, who's giving all the information for brothers and sisters that are undocumented. It's Facebook with the ads. It's everything.
Mm-hmm.
So I think part of what artists do for us is communicate, right? Like y'all are always going to find a way, even if it's on the corner on top of a box. Y'all are going to do that. Right. And I think we have to like look at what artists have done.
Mm-hmm.
As an example, especially artists like you and other folks like Immortal Technique, D, like, y'all are going to have careers for life for a reason, because it's not the work, it's the artistry, but it's also your politics and how y'all adapt real quick to what's happening. So Rod, I want to show the video of Multiply, and we're not hard on a time at 7:58 or 59, but if Maria, if you need to go, I hope you don't. But we'll stay on a little bit more because I want to still be in conversation. I already know we're gonna have to do a part 2. That's gonna happen fast because I really appreciate everything y'all are bringing up, because it's making me a little clearer, because I just feel so overwhelmed with information and trying to write and trying to read, and it's a lot. Like I don't think we're meant to be learning every 60 seconds and something changing every 24 hours when you can't process it. So let's see how y'all are doing that. But this is my video right now. So we're about to show this. And there's a reason why they want you to see Hamilton and they don't want you to see this video. That's a reason why.
Let's take it.
Here.
It go like this, bitch. You decide your future. Who are the leaders? Who are the shooters? Who are the leaders? Who are the shooters? Who are the leaders? Who are the shooters? Like this, bitch, you decide your future. Who are the leaders? Who are the shooters?
Yo, you ain't never come around to my casa. I know, but you don't know the pain of my raza. Just came to paint a picture. I'm the man with the paint and the pickup. I'm the one with paletas de agua, de piña, de coco, de mango, de guava. You don't wanna mess around with my squad. We are the rebels, we all out loud.
I came up with a couple of guys who always kept a 9 in the glove of the Dodge. Koran in the right hand and left middle finger for them jump out boys when they run up on the squad. So we got John Jackson, born faction, hold the world hostage. When the camera's the pot, that's how you know imposters. If they ain't no seeing in them boys, will double cross you. While they gorillas out at midnight, toss them all.
It go like this, bitch, you decide your future. Who are the leaders? Who are the shooters? Who are the leaders? Who are the shooters? Who are the leaders? Who are the shooters? Like this, bitch, you decide your future. Who are the leaders? Who are the shooters?
In my experience, only the illest shooters can properly transition to leading a crew of shooters and shooting along with them and getting arrested with them. And if it come down to dying, you dying along with them. I know, homie, but I would never follow you to battle if you never seen an armor light right at you. And you can never tell me what the neighborhood in need of. If you ain't never lived inside the neighborhood you speak of, we gon'
like this, bitch, you decide your future. Who are the leaders? Who are the shooters? Who are the leaders? Who are the shooters? Look, who are the leaders? Who are the shooters? Like this, bitch, you decide your future. Who are the leaders? Who are the shooters?
It's fuck the police with my every breath. Conscious rappers living life like fairy tales. I grow closer to death in jail with every step. I sold a piece of my soul with every piece I sold. We come from EBT, Roman noodles, and pizza roll. Magazines for sources of trouble to make sinners fold. Long as I got work falling off the clock like hickory. Dickory, fuck America, this is history. Drillers, killers in the headline. You ain't a revolutionary if you never did fair time. Quoting the side of but you wouldn't kill a fruit fly. Real life, 3 open cases so I can prove mine. Jesus was in Chicago, he probably gangbang. AK, lift like CT Fletcher, maintain. Leaders and the students are same motherfucker. Single mothers living next door to range motherfucker.
Like this, bitch, you decide your future. Who are the leaders? Who are the shooters? Who are the leaders? Who are the shooters? Who are the leaders? Who are the shooters? Like this bitch, you decide your future. Who are the leaders? Who are the shooters?
Tiroteo on West Florissant is flourishing. Revolution in the air, thank Ferguson. Unnamed shooters on the front line, serving them. Police had to retreat, these streets burning them. Time passes, what came from the ashes. In the aftermath, who paid, who casting? I don't see those faces that was masked in the actions. Call them homies blacking, let's get it cracking.
One time for the Angela Davises, 2 times for Asada Shakur. Exercising my rights to carry, bitch. What you think all the guns is for? Rather go out standing, thin down my knees. I'ma shoot a motherfucker, then cry in peace. Shake it off, reload, back on the front line. Time to wake that ass up, cause it's the crunch time.
They go like this, bitch, you decide your future. Who are the leaders? Who are the shooters? Who are the leaders? Who are the shooters? Who are the leaders? Who are the shooters? Like this bitch, you decide your future. Who are the leaders? Who are the shooters?
All right, so I listen to that like 6 times a day, just so y'all know. Like I am like mad loud for all the neighbors to hear right outside, just in case they don't already know. First of all, you must have done that like right before COVID struck, dude, because you're post Minneapolis, or did you do it? Well, I came together real quick. Your mic's, you're muted. Oh, that's because we muted you. Sorry. Sorry. My bad.
No, it came so you know, we're dropping a project. Multiply is Tefpo and Rebel DIaz together. We got 2 volumes we about to drop. Volume 1 drops this Friday on all platforms.
Yeah, good.
So Multiply Volume 1 is this Friday. It's got that song Leaders and Shooters, which is crazy. You got, you know what I'm saying, you got the Filipino community represented with Bamboo on the West Coast.
Yeah.
And he one of my favorite MCs, so it was just an honor to be able to build with him. You know what I'm saying? You got, man, T-Dub and Tefpo. To me, the brothers, they're super dope MCs, but they to me, that's Ferguson. You feel me? Like, that's the fam. You know, Rosa, you were there with us.
Yeah.
There's a whole, that's 5 years of building with the family right there. So yeah, this is I mean, and then you got, man, you got Rod Digger and Cyrock, 2 of the dopest MCs, you know what I mean? Rod Digger, legendary Flipmo Squad, and Cyrock, who's just been beasting out of Atlanta, you know, from DC originally. And so for us, to me, I'm like, I gotta show love. Maria Isa is a super dope MC, and she freestyles, and so I know she gets what I'm talking about. Like, we heads, you know what I mean? Like, I love the culture. And so to me, I grew up, and I used to be mad open when there was mixtapes, and there'd be like 7 MCs that I liked spitting on a track together. So it's kind of like that
crew
energy.
anthem.
Yeah, like a crew anthem from that era. You know what I mean? And I feel that like Rebel DIaz, that I feel like we bring a lot of folks together because we be in different areas, you know. And so for us, it's just dope to be able to put all those artists from different parts of, you know, walks of life together around the anthem. And, you know, I'll keep it 100. Like, folks sometimes be like, yo, they be dropping a political songs for the times. Like, this is what we do. And so in times like this, we gotta step up. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's why it's dope to see Public Enemy dropping new songs. And I'm feeling all that energy of just folks that are creating, because, you know, they say it's the artist's role, you know, the revolutionary artist's role to make revolution irresistible and make it accessible to the community. You know what I mean? And so Multiply project dropping this Friday, and I'm open just to see the reaction that folks have. We got a lot of, to us, it's a Black and Brown power project, you know what I'm saying? Which I think is super needed in the hood, super needed in the streets. And so hopefully people react well to it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, Maria also has Como Duele, which means how it hurts, about George Floyd, right?
She had, what's the title of that super dope video you have? It's like a cartoon. My son, I was watching it one day, he was mad open, like, play that video again. And I'm like,
my daughter does the same thing. Like,
I have a 5-year-old who's like a fan of yours now, because he be like,
I can lead all the kids. I did that project really for the kids.
That's dope.
Voy Contigo off of Amor Universal. I started recording the project during COVID for the kids, really, for our families to keep dancing and feeling love, you know, because there's a lot of the babies right now. I can't be in the rec centers. I can't teach them. I can't
Facts.
give them bomba. I can't teach them production and how to record themselves. I'll teach you, Rod, and a tutorial since you say you need help on that, bro. Holler at me. But that's projects for them. So we did the video as a cartoon because being with my daughter, I'm like, we can't film a video together amongst without social distancing. I did my tribute to Big Floyd, but this video I wanted it just be for the shorties and cartoons.
I love it. I love it.
This future is you know, it's the hardest part right now too, is that you don't even know what's happening minute to minute, honestly. Like 2 hours ago, the hospitals were open in Miami-Dade. Now they're like fully like shut. They're about to shut them down because they have no choice. The Republicans are turning on the governor. They are like, we might have to take this dude out of office. He's blaming migrant workers, you know. But in all of this has lost is actual human connection. And for me, that's the hardest part of all of this. Like, if you know me, I'm a hugger. I will tell you I love you. I don't know if I'm gonna see you tomorrow. I crave like human touch.
Yeah.
You know, and I love my husband, but I don't need to be around him this much, and he don't need to be around me this much. I was just like, yo, this is when either people are really gonna stay together or be calling up the divorce lawyer. Like, yeah, I've been here 20 years. You know, and my titi's a divorce lawyer, and she's like, I've never had this much business. Except that
it's real.
That's crazy.
People start to reflect and be like, I ain't trying to be with you if I live another 30 years. Like, and you know, Maria, I don't know with your mom and dad being Boricua, my mom be calling like, yo, this dude just told me he was walking upstairs.
Hey, for real, my parents just celebrated 48 years. You know,
oh mine did 50.
Yeah, like 70 pops back from now. Mom graduated from high traditional Boricua stuff where like the two of them still live with each other, have their own spaces, and still are married. And I like being married, and it'll be 3 years the end of this month, but 10 years together. You know, it's a trip because we're like, this is the test. Esto es. And if folks don't recognize that this is how we survive, like if y'all ain't the guerreros together, like then go get therapy because or get some help. That's a big part, specifically in our communities of color, like amongst of just relationship, of marriages, parenting, todo están en una casa junto, rioting. Now all of us got to stay in one house to be safe and secure, right? All of these things have built us to be weaker or stronger. You know, let's go strong.
There's no in between. Like
no.
Right now, there's no in between, and you know, it might be a good time for people to redefine what their partnerships look like.
Yeah.
Like, you know, somebody was like, how do you stay with Jess? I'm like, dude, first, that dude really likes me because I can be a little much if people didn't know. You know, just something.
I love you, Josh. That's my man right there.
No, he left the house. He's like, I'm out. Because I was like, shut up, everybody. God, be quiet. But honestly, one of my girls called me and I was like, yo, he moved out the bedroom 3 months ago. And that's how before COVID. Because it was like, why do I have to be in the same bed with you for like 70 years? You get up mad early. I stay up mad late. I'm like, he's like, what are you reading at 3 a.m. in the morning, having to go work at 6? And I told people, I'm like, that was very helpful. Like, we are lucky to have that space. All of it again being said with privilege, and I realized that. But Rod, you also come from an intergenerational family, and that's been hard on our communities. That's why a lot of Latinos, or you know, even if they do ethnicity-wise among white people, I was reading that it's Italians and Irish that have the highest levels of infection in their households because we live very intergenerationally. You know, so how's your family like doing with that?
So I was quarantined with you know, I was posted up, but for me, just being with my son has made me be super like
cautious.
I'm not trying to bring that home to my little man, you know.
Yeah.
On the flip side, you know, I've it's crazy. But for me, when I think of like this time, the pandemic, the quarantine, the uprising, for me, it's been a beautiful pause because as an artist, sadly, we have to travel all the time to make a living. You know what I'm saying? Like we're working class artists. We have to still travel and that grind, though it stopped some flow from coming home. At the same time, the blessing has been that I've been able to spend time with my son like never before. And what I realized, we on some Jedi training. Like we play baseball, we playing soccer. I got him riding his bicycle, he breakdancing, we doing graffiti classes, and we also realize how much of the educational system a lot of times we not even around our kids. You know what I'm saying? And at school, I know they're not learning 8 hours a day, because you give me 4 hours with my little man and we learning, we have a strict little discipline going on, and I'm just seeing how he's advancing and growing. So in that sense, it's been a blessing. And I feel you when Maria says that this is like the detox year. For me, it's been a space to also just kind of like slow things down. I think a lot of times capitalism, the way it is, it's like, especially when you're an artist and an independent artist at that, you know what I mean? When you don't have a label behind you, you end up, as much as anti-capitalist artists as we are, I still work for the brand of Rebel Diaz in one way or another. You know what I mean? And you have to keep that. And so I feel like the pause, and I've been just kind of trying to build with folks around this about this political idea, is like on some revolutionary tip. Like, to me, a victory is how many hours I could take away from capitalism a day. You know what I mean? To be able to live. You know what I'm saying? And so, it's crazy because, you have all this talk about, Antifa being terrorists, but let's not forget it was anarchists who fought for the labor laws that gave us an 8-hour workday. But even then, an 8-hour workday is still a reform. A true revolution would end up being where, of course, we have the means of production eventually, but even a workday for the people that lasts 4 hours. You know what I mean? Give me 4 productive hours. But the reality is capitalism has us on their time schedule. You know what I mean? And I feel like this pause, I've seen it be. It's all kind of nature. I hear more birds than ever. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's been all kind of positives for the climate just from less people being out, you know what I mean, out in the world. And so I say that because I feel like it's been an important pause, and I hope that folks that are tuning in, let's take advantage of this time. If there's a moment of you that's like, I'm bored during this quarantine, reflect, there's books to be read, there's documentaries to be watched, there's education for our children, there's skill sets. If you ain't got a skill set, practice a skill set. I'm done. I feel like I'm done telling people I don't do technology. I need to figure out how to record my own music, because the minute I do, I'm dropping bars. You ain't gonna be able to get me out the booth.
We're gonna.
That's real though.
Maria, I know you might have to go, and I'm gonna, Rod, you stay on for a little bit more, since we have Maria on the beginning. But Maria, two people had asked, is there hope? I know the answer to that, but I do want to pose it to you. Some people, I think, are feeling, I think we're at the point now when we're seeing everything begin to, quote, shut down again. Now we're going to have to really be on top and supportive of people's mental health issues. For those of us who have it and deal with it, the only way the only way I speak to my therapist is because I have insurance and it's virtual. But there are mad people out here. There's only so many times you could talk to the same person, the same things. Like, I am very concerned that we're not having the discussion we need to have on mental health, but it goes to what Rod was saying about, even in a pandemic, we're not supposed to slow down. It's like Mother Earth is literally telling you something, and I'm guilty of it because I'm a public speaker. Thank God people want to book me virtually. But if I didn't have, quote, the Rosa Clemente brand, where would the hell I be right now, money-wise? No income. And thank God my husband works for the state and we have insurance, But Maria, what would you tell people in times of hope? But also, because I know you talked about mental health, just what you see in the community. And then you've always been open about your type 1 diabetes and an advocate for it. What would be also what you would tell people to kind of listen to their body and their spirit and their mind at this moment?
Get to know yourself more. We're all in this stepping of always having to be on the go and it's kind of like, skimming a little what Rod said, utilizing a time that you've felt that you never had, and it may be not easier because now you got to take care of your family constantly, right? You don't have that space to yourself. You feel claustrophobic at times, but utilize and make sure you really start learning about how you want to be a better person in your own box. The revolution starts at home. So in order for is there hope? I have hope in myself. I have hope in my husband. I have hope because I have a daughter, and that's the hope that's starting. I got to work on what's in home ante que I can step outside, even just to the bodega to get something. Like it's about recognizing, also educating yourself more, or first steps of picking up a beginners of anything that you feel you are close to. If you're questioning yourself, well, go learn about it. If you're trying to challenge yourself, now's definitely the time. Definitely the time. With an advocacy with myself as a type 1 diabetic, and we passed this law in the state of Minnesota, the first for a affordable insulin act. We passed it during COVID. People thought we weren't going to do it. We stepped it up. We kept utilizing communication, but it's not over. Now that it's a law, we've got big pharma suing the state of Minnesota. So, and we knew that this was coming. There's like, once you accomplish something, there's boom, another fly swap, right? So it's now, okay, I can't get scared because we may shut down again, or we're following orders from other spots that are shutting down, because thankfully Minnesota has a good governor. Not to give a hype, but when it comes to this COVID, it makes a huge difference than Florida. And that we also have a large support of our BIPOC communities in storming of saying, we have our caucus, but we need more. It ain't about us. It's telling folks to learn about the system that wasn't built for us. We always can say this wasn't for us, but are you really educated on how you can actually defeat the system and keep defeating it? Because us three right here are still living, we're breathing, and we're communicating, and that's beating the system each day. So recognizing, how can a mom at home who is usually a musician and is on tour and was supposed to be in Latin America this whole rest of the summer, now I can't. Well, I got to pick up some more literature, and I got to talk to more people where they feel my strengths are, and what I may be weak in their eyes to give me corrective criticism, so I'm ready to bat. I can't crawl into a ball. You can't crawl into a ball. We have to seek therapy. We have to talk. But you made a very big point. You made a very big point about therapy is very therapeutic, but how many times can we talk to that same person? Or if we don't have insurance, what are our community resources out there? And how do we keep the accessibility of that? And taking hay que tener más sacrificio también. I know we've sacrificed a lot, but it's a matter of like, hey, if you're a lawyer and I need help with housing right now, and I know you, I can't afford to pay you, but what can I do to help in this moment of the circle? Is really not having no shame in the reality of your lifestyle as well. You have to accept who we are. You got to find how to love yourself to be able to have hope.
Yeah, no, and thank you for that, because that's what it's not that kind of hope of like someone's gonna save us. It's just like every night, I'm sure we all of us who I hope all of us are organized. I just reflect and I say the name of political prisoners or our elders, or I'm not the biggest spiritual person, but I know so many people around me are, and I'm like, in this time, I know that we're all looking out for each other, but I think it is important that, you have some of those friends. I have some friends where I'm like, I'm going to check in on you every day till you hit me back. Right? Because you might be saying it's all good, but I am feeling something different. And if that was me, I would want you to do the same. And I think the point you made about taking critique more about, what are some of the things that we could let go that have not allow us to evolve,
to grow.
yeah, and to grow. And part of that is sometimes relationships end, and in a lot of different ways, depending on the relationship. But I am now a proponent of, like, if a relationship ends, whatever that is, it could be your partner, your lover, your friend for 30 years, and all of that. You can end a relationship with dignity. It doesn't have to be the drama and not that doesn't exist, but there's got to be a way where we can also see each other in the movement. Like, it doesn't also mean that I have to have this huge, deep, emotional relationship with you, but it does mean that I know you're on the street for what I'm on the street for. And as long as I have my crew, it don't mean we always have to go to this part where we can't do none of that shit now anyway. Like, go anywhere. But, I appreciate you always speaking out about that and about being type 1 diabetic, because it's still a shame in our community, and so many people. And we've seen it happen at the beginning of COVID, where they were like, well, if Black people and Puerto Ricans and didn't eat the adobo and the sazon and the this and the that. And it's like, yeah, and 9 million other things. And also, like, skinny people physically can be sick, because of how we haven't been raised, or as I just bought this book,
environmental
decolonize your food. And I was like, who would have ever thought of that? Like, I should have been thinking, like, how do we decolonize this nasty food supply manufacturing, like, of chemicals, But that's why I'm gonna have to bring you back on, girl. You're gonna come on a third time,
Hey, I'm always honored to be, in your space and have these conversations of just surviving and also sharing. I think a big part of how we can recognize hope on that first question too is, like you said, check in on your elders, check in on your youth, check in on yourself, be honest with yourself. I think right now everybody has been the most honest ever to ourselves that we probably have ever experienced in our lives. And that's changing a poison into medicine. That's changing the poison of all the isms, genderisms, racism, sex, etc., right? All of that is under the same umbrella of the systemic injustices. We can't abolish police without abolishing how this government has fed our children and has fed our people or hasn't fed our people. All of this gotta be en un puño. If we got some people fighting for one thing and some people for fighting the other thing, that's leaking, putting holes. The hole is the focus of justice and not charity. We're not charity. We ain't out here seeking charity. We out here not seeking. We're out here letting, I wanted to cuss right now, but we are letting people know this is justice. This I don't got no time for the talk and the philanthropy and this and that. If you don't know it, then you got to pay me to talk to you about it, because I got a consulting fee.
I agree. We all need, all of us, consulting fee. We got to say no. And we also got to be like, yo, we're not stupid. We've seen y'all co-op this before. So, and that's what I'm going to talk to Rod about before we close.
I love y'all.
I love you. And thank you
for get to my baby.
Because I know you're in there. Check out the podcast, Latina Theory. Check out Maria Isa on every platform. Go to her website, I am Maria Isa. Download and support all the work she does. Give your fam the love. Thank you for being the first guest.
Peace, hermana.
Rad, love.
You already know.
Love you.
And Namyo Renge Kyo on these hoes. I love y'all.
Okay,
love you. Rod, I want you to speak to before we wrap up. I'm going to do literally another just hour with you and Maria. And I think it's very important, because also our voices as the larger Latino, Latina, Latinx community, for lack of better terms, are completely not being heard. Like, the only conversation that's happening on a mass level is why are Latinos so anti-Black? And I'm like, oh fuck, are we really here? Like, that whole, I've been doing a lot of interviews, and I've just been like, for you to say that all quote Latino, Latina, Latinx folks are anti-Black is insane, because the society is anti-Black. and also you discount struggle, and your parents come from struggle. Your father was also a big key of in Chicago when it was finally passed in city council about reparations.
For the torture victims.
Where
Yeah,
the
that's what's up.
torture John Burge, did to so many Black and Latino men, but also that is part of the curriculum of Chicago public schools.
Yeah.
You were in Ferguson. You were like, not like, I think after that Instagram post, y'all were in Chicago and drove right there, right?
We were in New York. We drove 17 hours.
Oh, well, yeah.
The first time. Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
They got in where did we go? Where we went to Chicago one time. We drove in the van together. Yeah, but 17 hours, y'all were there.
Yeah.
And within like 20 hours.
So our connection, we had a direct connection to Mike Brown's family. Like a lot of folks, we didn't just get up, you know what I mean, randomly and go. So one of the members of our collective, Charlie Hustle, who's Kemba's DJ, right? We were in the collective, and he's from Milwaukee. And like a lot of Midwest families, Mike Brown's family before was in Milwaukee. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so he's like, yo, they killed my boy's cousin. You know what I'm saying? My boy Cal, shout out to Key Cal, amazing producer from Milwaukee who was living in Ferguson at the time. So when we arrived, this was before a lot of the CNNs, before, like Charlie hit us up like, yo, we have been riding heavy for Sean Bell. You know what I mean? So many, Ramarley Graham, like just folks in the Bronx and in New York. But he was like, yo, this is like my family. So I was like, all right, let's roll. We had that van. You remember we had that van with the collective.
Yeah, that's when I went. One time I rode in that with y'all.
Yes.
The best road trip ever.
So we rolled out. And it was crazy. Like when we got to Ferguson, I'll never forget. We rolled up on a set. It was GDs. You know what I'm saying? And I'm from Chicago, so I already knew what it was. I jumped out right away, like, what's up?
But tell people who don't know what GD stands for.
The Gangsta Disciples. You know what I'm saying? And that day, so the Gangsta Disciples, started by Larry Hoover. They was holding it down, holding down a set. And what was beautiful is when I jumped out, I walked right towards them because they thought we were Bloods, Rebel Diaz. We were black and red all the time. You feel me?
Yeah.
We rolled right up to them. I told them, I'm like, yo, we came from New York. We saw what was happening. We just decided to come out here and support. Immediately, whatever hard looks turned to smiles. They dapped us up. I called the whole crew over. Everybody showed love. At that time, Claudia was pregnant. You know what I'm saying? With my son. Yeah. She was pregnant with Roque, 7 months. And dude saw, like, on some game, he saw that she was pregnant. He was like, yo, he gave us 2 of his young soldiers, a 17 and a 19-year-old, that were like our security for the rest of the night. We were out till like 2 a.m, just walking up and down that Florissant strip. You know what I mean? And so for us, we were clear from day one that was a street rebellion. You know what I mean? We've seen we could talk more obviously about the co-optation of movements and all that's been going on. But, like I said, to us, the politics has always been, we are on the side of the people, wherever that is. And so, we come from the lineage of Victor Toro and the Movimiento La Peña del Bronx, who taught us how to organize, you know what I mean? Who taught us, you don't take grant money and put that towards your salary. You take that and put that towards infrastructure.
I want to ask you a question because I'm over time a little bit, but I'm wondering if in like 10 minutes we could rock a little bit more on my Instagram live, although I understand you were here.
I'm down.
Down?
Can I tell you something? Can I say something real quick just to summarize? Because I feel it's an important political point.
What I mean is that we're going to wrap up the show here on StreamYard, and then I'm going to go on Instagram Live. Hi, everybody. So if you're on Facebook, YouTube, and whatever,
I'll jump on with you.
Instagram Live, and me and Rob will keep this conversation going. But say what you want to say.
I got to say this. One last bar before I leave, before we switch over.
Yeah.
So this is the thing. We have to be clear that the fun police cannot be an end all. You know what I'm saying?
Yes. Yeah.
Just to put things in context, even if you were to cut, the New York City Police Department, if it were to be its own army with the type of funding that it's had, it would be the 6th largest funded army in the world as an army. You know what I'm saying? And so what we have to really talk about is a further conversation, obviously, of abolishing the police. But at the same time, we have to be clear that as long as there's wealth, wealth will do whatever it needs to adjust to keep making wealth. And at the same time, will do whatever it needs to do to protect its wealth. So whether that security is private security, whether that's internet surveillance, okay? Whether it's, you know what I'm saying, a new form of policing like we've never seen before, we have to be clear that the conversation and that we have as a movement needs to fast forward 10, 15 years. We're behind. These capitalists are already planning for 2050. So it's important that we don't allow these symbolic victories to be the end all. You know what I'm saying? The conversation became a little bit more larger. People are even entertaining the fun police. But let's take that a step further and not settle and not let go of the street. What up to my man Just? That's my brother.
What's up with you, boy?
I'm good. I'm over here ranting. Over here ranting.
We're going to continue to rant on Instagram. We're going to wrap up this part. So we're going to wrap up this part. So Rod, I'm going to let you go and like take 10 minutes. And
no, shout outs to Nicer. I don't know if that's my man Nicer.
That is your man. So Nicer,
look, real quick, we doing a book. The ABCs of Hip Hop. Haymarket Press is putting that out. It should be coming soon. Big ups to my brother Nicer from Tats Crew.
So we're gonna bring Rod back, but Rod, before you leave, and I'm gonna continue to talk about this. And so Trump considers selling Puerto Rico following Hurricane Maria. So just sit with that, and that's where we'll start when we come back on Instagram. Although I was like, man, I wish I was in that meeting and had a check because I would have bought it to give it back to all the people. You dumb fucking megalomaniac moron. And for those who are on that dumbass statehood shit right now, like Richie Torres, I didn't like you before, man. I didn't like you. I don't care that you're Afro Puerto Rican. You are totally selling out the people. There's this new book called PR Exit, Forging Puerto Rico's Path to Sovereignty. Get that? So we can stop all the stupid conversations about Puerto Rico being a state and dumbass Trump. The dude had to be told you cannot sell it. He did not understand that. I'm like, that is called also slavery.
Bro.
Sit with that and sit with that. Trump said 3 hours ago that more white people get killed by the police than black people and brown. I'll see you on Instagram, dude.
All right, I'll see you right now. I'll be up. Peace.
Thank you everybody for rocking. I know we kept you long. There was a lot of technical stuff, but look, that's how it goes. So thank you to our producer as always. And we want to end as we do with our political prisoner of war. Do not forget the brothers and sisters that fought so that we could be here right now. And as Maria had said, exist. So I'm not sure if we have video or anything, but we probably do. Yes. Okay. November 10th, 2003, Judge Stephanie Manis sentenced Kamal Siddiqui to life imprisonment for murder and 10 years to run consecutively for armed robbery after Fulton County Superior Court jury found him guilty for the murder of Atlanta police James Green. At the time of the murder, 19-year-old Kamal Siddiqui was a member of the Black Liberation Army, different from the Black Panther Party. Assata was part of the Black Panther Party and also part of the Black Liberation Army, which were never talked about enough still. Several members of the BLA, including Mr. Siddiqui, left New York City and lived in the Atlanta area for a short period of time. On the night of the murder, 2 witnesses observed 3 black males run from a van where Officer Green sat at a gas station in downtown Atlanta. The witnesses failed to identify Mr. Siddiqui from a photographic lineup. There was no physical evidence that implicated Mr. Siddiqui. In 1971, the Atlanta Police Department closed the case as unsolved. Kamal Siddiqui has always maintained his innocence and has been a loving father and grandfather steadily employed for 30 years. The Fulton County DA refused to try him 30 years ago due to any lack of credible evidence. The question is, why him and why now? The government police, knowing that he suffered some hepatitis C and scardosis, told Kamal that unless he helped capture Assata Shakur, that he would die in prison. So that is the story on our freedom fighter, Kamal Siddiqui. You can go to his website. Like I said, and just digging further to the Black Liberation Army, obviously Assata's biography is great, but you could look at a lot of other Black Liberation Army people, some that are not with us, some that are locked up, and some that are out of jail. So tomorrow, we will not be back. We will be back on Thursday. And our guest on Thursday is Kendrick Sampson. For those that don't know him, he's an artist, actor. He's one of the actors in Insecure. He has been on the ground. Really, you could see kind of the mentorship and guidance that he's been getting from BLM-LA, and he's a great activist now. I think he's more than that, an organizer now, and he has an organization called Bold Leadership. So we'll be in conversation with him on Thursday. Tomorrow, I am doing and I'll post it right after this. I am doing with Latino educators who is Black, dealing with anti-Blackness, not just in the Latinx community, but around the world. How do we decolonize the mind? But how do we still have the conversations? And it just cut me off. So I don't know what the hell's going on. Well, and that's that. Everybody, I'm about to just take my 5-minute break and come on with Rod. I don't know what's going on. I always got technical issues, but it is what it is. I'll be back. Rod, I see you. I can't wait to talk to you more. Hey, Just.
Yeah.
Come here a second. Do you know that this computer just shut down on me? Literally, like it just stopped.
FBI?
Yeah. No, it did.
They don't want you to know the truth.